Hey folks, welcome back to another edition of Koza's Coaching Corner. And today we're going to cover one of the most important aspects of the game, chipping. If you can't chip, golf gets very stressful. You've worked really hard on your golf swing, now you're just off the green, and if you're getting in 4 from this spot, stick with me. Because if you're the person who's chunking it, thinning it, this magic station is going to reveal all of your shortcomings in a positive way. We're going to understand what it is that's jamming you up so that we can move forward and practice. We're going to rehearse and adapt to this idea of getting through the ball instead of under it. One of the biggest problems people have with chipping are controlling 3 important factors. We got our low point distance, which is where the bottom of the swing arc lands compared to where the ball is. Most people have it too far back. We're landing the airplane early and the club is coming up when it makes contact with the ball in an attempt to get under it. So if we want to reverse this backwards loop in our head, I have the ultimate chipping station that's going to help you control not only the low point distance, but also the low point depth, and another fancy term, dynamic loft, which is the amount of loft that the club has as it's making contact with the ball. So if we can't control where the club lands, how deep the club is going to be when it enters the ground, and how much loft there is at impact, our brain starts to panic. There's a lot of mental tension because we have to solve this equation in real time. And if you're not super skilled, if you're not Phil Mickelson and have super educated hands, this can get very frustrating. So the ultimate chipping station was born. It's a combination of an alignment stick, which gives us the pass-fail on whether or not our weight stays on the front half of the stick. If any weight moves back, we're going to move the low point too far back. To cover the low point depth, you'll see that I have the splinter drill I created. It's much like the hammer drill, except the idea of this drill is not to hammer the nail down into the ground. It's to feel like you're clicking the leading edge of your wedge against the head of the nail or the splinter and try to pull this splinter out of the ground. So it's going to be very difficult to do that if we're throwing the club at it. The idea is we're going to try to keep the club on the ground, keep the hands ahead, and we're going to pull that splinter out, which makes my dynamic loft much more stable. Be chipping more than likely. And B, we're having trouble with that low point depth, not just the low point distance ahead of the ball, but it's how deep that club's crashing into the ground. If we're falling back this way, steep is scary. When we can get on the front half of the stick and the body's moving this way, steep is actually our friend because that allows us to get the club to drop down on the back of the ball. And ironically, this is how we get under the ball. It's actually being steep. You'll notice that there's very little grass on my club, which means we're not getting any interference from grass getting between the ball and the club. This also helps us be much more consistent with our ability to maintain the same amount of loft. Now we just have to change speed if the loft is staying the same. When we hang back and this flips, you can see how I'm adding a bunch of loft. So either we add too much loft and we need a bunch of speed to get the ball there, or we use the proper amount of speed, and when we add a bunch of loft, it comes up short. The worst one is when we start doing this and we thin it. So the wild changes in dynamic loft are another big fear in our brain that causes mental tension. What we want to try to feel here is that we're almost brushing the grass. We're keeping this club on the ground for 6 inches rather than this idea that we have to try to pick the ball clean and stand up and help it. I like the idea of up, but it's got to be forward and up. This gives my hands some room to drop down. And as we get this pendulum swinging, you can hear that nice sound on the tee. The bucket is going to be set up just inside of the stick, back on this side of the drill. And the goal is not to bring the club inside and get stuck under here. So once you get really good at this drill, you can start to play around with where the ball is between your feet, which affects our dynamic loft without you having to manufacture it. We're going to start ball forward. I still have my splinter ahead of the ball. Ball's closer to my big toe. Keep the weight on the front half. We're going to miss the bucket, and you'll see this goes high in the air because of my dynamic loft being higher. I'm going to grip it with a weak grip, miss the bucket, drag the tee. Do it. And now I reset my little splinter. See very shallow divots here. I'm going to keep the ball in the same spot, but now I move the stick so that my feet are close together. Now the ball is more lined up. You see the line is with my trail heel. Same technique. I grip it a little different with the shaft leaning forward, and you'll see how that was 90% air, 10% roll. Now we're going to go for about 50-50. Two balls hole high, different ways of doing it. And you'll also notice part of the lost speed direction equation here. The more it's on the ground, the more it's going to break. So I'm going to have to adjust my aim slightly. I'm actually glad that happened. I have to count for the right to left a little bit more now that I'm using some roll. Ball's more back in my stance. Now I'm going to aim a little bit more to the right. Same technique, different ball position. Flies halfway. Now we have control over our dynamic loft. High, low, same club. Get comfortable with your favorite wedge. This is a lob wedge. I feel like this is a good drill with a sand wedge. Have fun. You'll notice I've been chipping here for about 15 minutes, and all you can see is a little bit of grass that's been kind of disturbed. I'm not taking big, deep divots. If you have trouble sculling it or fatting your chips, try this Ultimate Chip Station. Found this at all helpful? Don't be shy. Leave a comment. Let me know how much it helped. Drop a like, hit the subscribe button, share it with a friend who just chili dips all of their chips or sculls it and is a hazard to everybody on the chipping green. Thank you for your time. Look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Kozo's Coaching Corner.